Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Time for True Show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for True show. I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, and I want to wish you a happy July 4th holiday, our nation's Independence Day, and the celebration of our liberty, our democracy. And tonight, we have a very special guest that actually is safeguarding that liberty and works in many different facets. We're very excited to have him on the show tonight. An engineer, if you will, let's put up his pictures for our viewers so they can see our very special guest on this July 4th holiday. There you see him, Franklin B. Lieberman, widely recognized as an experienced, accomplished, and innovative media and entertainment executive with firsthand contacts worldwide in the area of entertainment, television, technology, and politics. For 20 years, he ran his own communications business, and for 15 years was a marketing consultant, an innovative marketing strategist specializing in creating revenue streams and designing campaigns for such companies as AT&T, IBM, Hoffman, PepsiCo, as well as other major corporations. Working with 3 divisions of the IBM Corporation, he created the launch campaign for its extraordinarily successful material requirements program. Following the 9/11 attacks, he founded a second company, pioneered the wide-scale introduction of various elements of his unique cross-media concepts. Frank raised funding for Columbia Pictures and 20th Century Fox and co-founded Major Arts, a theatrical film and TV company based in New York City and Los Angeles, producing The Kingdom of the Spiders, Shaker's Run, Hardly Working, The Dark, Ace of Piracy, and a good major TV special, United We Stand, 2-hour pre-Olympics. Mr. Lieberman served as executive producer for NBC, CBS, ABC, PBS, and special music industry projects for A&M Records. He raised over $8 million for New York City schools and funds for the NAACP in New York State. He's founder of NY2C, an online library consisting of New York City trivia, vignettes, a 2-year weekly show entitled What's Up, New York, sports content, and spoon to be fashion content. In addition, NYC2C has a state-of-the-art studio on the Lower East Side to stream the latest and upcoming live underground entertainment that is taking New York by storm. And Buddha, if you bring him up live on our screen, I want to bid a warm welcome to Mr. Frank Lieberman.
Wow, I don't know what to say. That was a
Very
hell of an
impressive.
opening. Very impressive for me. Wow.
I'm
You did a
telling
great
you,
job.
you probably never realized how much you've done, right?
No, I was thinking in your industry, I was the guy who created robotic telesurgery at Mount Sinai. And we took a live patient in Strasbourg, France, and took a gallbladder out of her live. And that was the start of robotic telesurgery, which I don't know if it's in there or not, but that was my technology.
Wow. No, you know what? I didn't even mention that. There were so many things that you've done that I got to tell the truth. I had to cut some of them out because otherwise I wouldn't have time to speak to you.
Well, let me tell you my journey, if you don't mind. I was a
Absolutely.
kid.
Tell us how this happened.
I hated school. I didn't graduate from Jamaica High School. I just couldn't deal with it. And my father, he didn't care either way. He said, whatever you want to do. And I left to Hollywood. And in Hollywood, I started meeting a lot of people. And when I did AT&T, that was the breakup of the Bell system. I shot all the films, the breakup of the Bells, New York Bell, New Jersey Bell, all the Bells. And then I shot for Pepsi 2 big shows. One was called The History of Animation, and the other one was The History of Comedy. There were 2 touring shows that went to the high schools across the country. And at that time, I still wasn't happy. And I was going to clubs at night in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills. And I met this gentleman named Art Natoli. And Art knew everybody in Hollywood. So I got to be his friend. And that's how I met my new career. I met a guy my age. We're still best friends. His name is Herbert Werner. He comes from Vienna. And I said, Herbert, I don't like to produce. This is too hard to raise money per film. And then eventually you get paid, but you don't get all your money back and people will run after you. You run Credit Anstalt, the international division. How can we work together? And that's when he said, we can definitely work together. So I came back to New York, to LA. To my house, and I called a lawyer named Leon Kaplan. I said, Leon, would you be my lawyer? And Leon was the lawyer of all of Hollywood. And he said, Frank, I have no problem. What do you want to do? I said, I want to raise big money for the studios and give them the money for the slate of films. And one of the monies I gave was how Spielberg got started in Close Encounters. A lot of the money went into a lot of different things, and I was enjoying myself. I would spend a month in a hotel in Europe. I would go to the best hotels. Herbert would give me a stack of bills. I would go there and enjoy myself and meet different people that wanted to make film or different investors. And that's how I got into a whole new life.
It's amazing. And, you know, I think it's important for people to understand that, you know, you don't always have to take the traditional route to have a happy, productive life. You know, your example is exactly that, right?
Yeah, I met guys along the way, like Jules Buck. I worked with Peter O'Toole. I helped them out. I helped raise money for different groups. And, you know, it was great. I had a lot of fun. I still lived in Manhattan. I have a family, 2 kids and a wife. We're still together 53 years. And I wanted to do something else. And I saw how people, you know, like when I went into the business, when I started, a lot of the guys I played ball with, basketball, I started getting them jobs at Deluxe Labs and stuff because they didn't know how to get in the industry. And they were urban kids. They knew nothing about the film industry. And I got a lot of these kids jobs, and it just stuck with me. My father said, you always take care of the people that can't take care of themselves, that need a little oomph. And my father was great because he got most of the black guys in the Painters Union. He had a hard time getting them in, but he got them in. That's why the Painters Union has a lot of black painters. They were none in the 60s and 70s. So when I got out of LA, New York, I said to myself, basically, I got to do something else. And I went into NY2C. And I have like 6 crews. We shoot vignettes, we shoot trivia, we do a lot of different things. And we have live entertainment from a place on Delancey Street called Sour Mouse. But here's the amazing part. I met somebody when I was in my office from the DOE, Department of Education, named Jeff Ewart. And Jeff and I got to be best friends. We're still friends to this day. And we're trying to help the kids in the urban city get computers, get the technology they need, the software they need to help them learn how to read, do math. And now we're working on AI for them. And I've been just raising money. I got Verizon put in $4 million. I got other people, the DOE, everybody's put in millions. And this means a lot to me because I have a cameraman. We go out all over South Jamaica, the Bronx, to shoot videos of these kids. And we got press credentials. We got everything for the mayor. And they are so far behind. You're in Bayside. Those kids in Bayside have 2 computers, 2 laptops. They got everything. These kids don't even have connectivity. So they got to do everything in school. They can't take it home. So it became Jeff and our journey to make all this work. So we did District 29 in South Jamaica, District 5 in Harlem, District 4, and we're going through all the districts in New York, providing equipment, software, and development, professional development in STEM. So that's me.
It's that's amazing what you're doing, and it's very needed because I know one of the hardest things, like you mentioned, is fundraising and getting people who have resources to donate them. So I think what you're doing is fantastic because, we were talking earlier in the day about the group that I run with, the Drug Free World. And, also this tablet that we have that we're going to take a look at how you and I can work together on getting this tablet exactly to those people that you were talking about. Because we have a program through one of our partner companies, and we'll see how we can do that. What I wanted to ask you, because you're very diverse, and you originally worked with companies like IBM, AT&T, right?
Hoffman LaRoche.
Well, so what was that like? Why don't you tell a little bit about what it was like? Because there's probably people out there maybe who want to go into that career or who are having a tough time in that career, and your story, I think, would help them. Go ahead.
Well, basically, the corporate wasn't my area. I didn't like working with corporations. So what I used to look for is fellows. Fellows are the kind of guys I could work with, I figured. So I met Dr. Orlicky. Dr. Orlicky was a star at IBM. Nobody could touch him. He was God. And I got to be his friend, and I helped him develop a whole package of films on MRP, which is all the inventory control. At Hoffman LaRoche, I dealt with another guy who was another star, Jack Etheridge. And Jack and I really hit it off. I worked with him for 2 years. I never met the man, never saw what he looked like. I would have to slide purchase orders and invoices under his door. But we got to be friends over the phone. Then there was a Darla Temple. She was breaking up the Bell system at AT&T. And I said, Darla, can we bid on this against Donnelly? She says, you sure you guys can do it? I say, she says, come back with what you think you can do. So we came back, and I got T-shirts for everybody. And I put it under their clothes, and they opened up a T-shirt that says, I love Darla. And she gave us half the job. So I got into AT&T that way. And I've done a lot of crazy things, but I felt that if you don't try, you're never going to make it. And we tried everything. I knocked on doors. I got turned down so many times. But you just keep getting up and going again.
Well, you know what? What you just touched upon I think is a barrier that a lot of people run into when they go to do something, that they start, they get rejected, get another rejection. What was it, or what is it that keeps you coming back? How is it that you say, okay, I'm going to come back again? Because it's easy to say that, but what is it that you look at, or inside of you? What is it that you focus on?
Believe in yourself. If you believe you got something good, just keep going. That's how Rocky was made. That's how a lot of feature films are made. Some of them go for 10 years. And they knock on the right door and they get greenlit. So that's the way I've always functioned. I never forget going to London so many times, and everybody said, no, no, no. And one guy said yes, and that was history. I'm still friends. He's on my board. So it's just not going to.
Just continue and just keep the dream alive in your head.
Just keep it going. That's it. I mean, and do things for free. A lot of stuff, like I marched in the Puerto Rican Day Parade 4 years in a row as an assistant grand marshal, whatever it is. But I met so many great contacts that I helped. And now when I go to Puerto Rico, there's a lot of friends down there. And Jeff and I are going to try to help them in the schools down there, because it's like an offshoot of New York.
Right. And then, you know what? This NY2C that you founded,
Right.
you're helping a lot of up and coming artists that wouldn't have an ability to be seen otherwise. Tell us a little bit about that, and, you know, your purpose with the show and how you work, and go ahead.
All right. This is interesting. This is very interesting. I was lucky. I knew how to knock on doors, and I know how to move around, and I met Art Natoli in the clubs. So I met a lot of great people in the club scene, and I knew how to get to certain lawyers. You call them 100 times, they'll eventually take the call. But here's the trick. A girl I have now, she's been with me 5 years, 4 years. She just graduated Columbia with a master's in journalism. And I said, Liz, stay with me. You'll learn what we're doing in PR, and you'll get what I consider, you know, a little cream puff of a start, okay? And she's been with me. She says, you know, I've knocked on so many doors and everybody said no to get into journalism. And now with AI, it's even harder. Then I have Health with L. This young lady just quit a big job at The Economist. And she said, Frank, I always want to do something for health. I said, you got it. I gave her a chance. I'm the biggest contributor in the radio and TV area at Hofstra for hiring these kids that are in school and putting them in, you know, these programs I have. They edit, they do sound, they do everything. And I give them a chance so they can put on their resume they worked at a place. That's the key. They have to have that on their resume. And then when people call, I tell them what I think of the kid. I've gone to about 30 of them already, or 40 of them. So that's, I feel I'm helping that way. A little girl, she has no idea about fashion, the worst. I'm giving her a chance. We're teaching her. I said, go to FIT, learn. I'm teaching these people. I have a casting director. We're teaching them how to be in front of the camera. There's a lot of tricks, and we're teaching them. I have researchers. You know, it's just different things. We have 22 people, and social media has been my biggest problem, but we're learning.
You're really quite amazing people person. I can see that you know, I think one of the keys for the viewers watching is just to help people. You know, I think in our world today, I don't know, it's disappearing. Everything is just money. What can I get for me? And right, what do you think about this, Frank?
Well, it all depends who you're talking to. I have a knack. The kids all tell me, you have a knack of picking who is really going to be here. All the other kids leave, I don't care. I know who I want. I can almost feel it when I hire them. It's something about the kids. It's been with me all my life in the film business. And I've had some winners, boy. And these kids are great that I have. They won't leave me. So I got a kid, his stage manager, Kit. He's a lyricist. He's phenomenal. He's my stage manager. Another kid just came to me. He's now what your guy is doing with VMix and all that. We have Synergy. We have VMix. He's our guy. I got another kid that is, he just bought a home in Trenton, Mark. I don't know why he's in Trenton, but he bought a home there because it was the cheapest place to get a home. But he's another stage manager I have. And that's, and then the interesting thing, the guy who owns Sour Mouse is Chinese. And he comes to me, says, Frank, I met a lot of your people. Can you please tell me how I find somebody to be a host? Every time I find a host, they can't talk to people. They can't. He said, you know how to hire the best people. How do you do this? So I'm helping him find a host now, which is very difficult for that place. So just, it's a feeling you got. It's in your gut. You know, it's something, I don't know how to say it. It's just, it's a natural thing for me. The girl, Elle, I met her in an airplane. And I said, something about you that works. And she said, really? And she quit a job, and she's with me now doing health with Elle.
But very,
So
very interesting. You know, it's so true. I go to Florida periodically. That's where I am right now. And that's why we're having it by link. And I would fly to Florida. One time on the airplane, this guy next to me was terrified. So I calmed him down. I asked him what he did. He worked for London Fog. So I'm talking to him on the way down to Florida and became his friend. Then on the way back from Tampa, this is a few years ago now, when Steinbrenner was still around. So I'm flying back, and there's a woman next to me. We start talking, and she opens up, just like what you were saying. And the next thing I know, she's George Steinbrenner's secretary. She's telling me her life story. And, you know, I invited over my house with my wife, and, you know, she came over. And it's so true what you said is if you just speak to people, you know.
it's the gift of gab. It's the gift of gab.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know what? You've done so many things. What would you like to see change in the United States? What do you think needs to be, you know, removed or renewed or gone back to or gone forward? What needs to change?
I think the voting rights has to change. They deserve to have the voting rights so they can vote when they want, where they want, and not go through all the hindrance that all the red states put in front of them. That's important because if, let's say, the elections and people can win, at the point, education comes out of that. Civics. Well, there's a lot of areas because if a kid's not educated, he ain't going to make it. And we want to get him off the streets. You have to educate to get these kids off the street so they can see a future. If you don't see a future, you know, you're going to be on the street.
That's true. You know what? Our country is suffering from that. You know, too many drugs, people
Yep.
not getting educated, people not, you know, homeless, families breaking up. And, you know, they're trying to solve the economy, they're trying to solve the violence, but we got to solve the simple things, the family structure, the education, you know, the things that you've been talking about. What concluding statement would you want to give our viewers as we're getting near the end of your show?
Can I ask you a question? Where do you live in Florida? Where?
I'm in Tampa.
You're in Tampa. Okay. No, it was because we're in Florida. Just it's bad there, also. But for the kids, what I would leave is, I would like to see with NY2C, for me, grow where I can go to Washington, D.C. That's our next spot. We started shooting there. Go to Philadelphia. I want to go to all the NBA cities to be able to shoot it, be able to hire the kids that never had a chance, give them a chance to put on their resume. That's what I'm looking to do. There's a lot of good colleges and high schools down there that I could hire from.
That makes a lot of sense. You know what? This is why we build the future of the country through the young people.
Yes. And it's funny. They know social media like there's no tomorrow. They understand it. Now with AI, social media is going to be really boosted. And my guys are teaching me a lot. So I can't complain.
It's beautiful to have all those young people around you, right?
Oh, you ain't kidding. I love it. It's funny. I do the West Indian Day Parade. And I deal with the people from the West Indies. And these kids are educated. It's amazing to see the kids I have and the kids from the different groups from the islands. And I see it. And I'm trying to get these kids to have the technology, because most of the parents that I deal with from the West Indies, most of these parents are nurses, they're doctors, they're professionals. So they can afford the computers, the connectivity. These kids can't. So one of the things Jeff and I are trying to do is raise a boatload of money and try to help as many districts as we can in New York, besides me growing my company. I hope that gives you.
I think it's very needed, because in order to solve these things that are going on in our cities and in our country, we got to give the youth opportunity, because when they get educated, when they have a hope, like you've been mentioning, then their behavior changes, their outlook changes, and they're willing to move forward. They've got something to look forward to. You're so right. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm a Cuban guy. I got really lucky. I came to this country and I had a hope. So I think that we got to give them hope, give them a way of educating everything you're saying. And I look forward to working with you. One thing I want to do before the show ends, I want to mention someone who brought us together and who's always out there working for the whole country. That's Globetrotter Robert Bobby Z. Hunter. And, you've been with him, a friend, for a long time, right, Frank?
I say 58, he says 1960. I remember going up to Harlem that day. I was a nervous wreck. I wanted to learn how to play basketball. So I went up there, and him and Willie Hall were the first two people that came over to me. I was this only white guy walking around Harlem at that time. And they became my friends from that day on, and we're still best friends.
Frank Lieberman, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. For those of you watching, have a fantastic July 4th. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Happy 4th of July.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. But the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet